Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Seattle Times is afraid Bruce Harrell's going to lose, and they already endorsed him. So what do? A non-endorsement endorsement of his competitor. Tell you all about it, but before we get to any of that, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
The No Kings rallies are scheduled for this weekend across our area and across the country. I find it entertaining that the people in Washington who are protesting Kings had no problem with Governor Jay Inslee being king, tyrant, dictator for 975 days. Now, as we discussed yesterday, King 5 News, ironically, maybe they see this as a branding opportunity because they are all in on the No Kings protests. Yesterday, they basically had a fact sheet of here's where you go, here's what you do, here's the best stuff. And then they had a here's how you don't get arrested, here's your rights, let's tell you all about it. Today, they have a whole article dedicated to telling you where they are in your area so you can find the No Kings rally closer to you. Personally, I think it would be entertaining if we had the No King 5 protests. I think that would be good. I don't think Seattle loses anything by not having King 5, but it seems like they are all in on this. You know who owns King 5, by the way? Tegna. You know who Tegna is a media partner of? CNN. That's right. They're all in the same conglomerate, my friends. So, fiery but mostly peaceful. Who's ready for it? Who's ready for it? Yep, that's what you're going to be seeing. Now, mind you, what is this really about? The shutdown. It's about the shutdown. Democrats are going to try and use the No Kings rallies, riots, mostly peaceful riots or protests, to say, look how many people are on our side and against Donald Trump. Well, you know, our side, by that I mean our, you and me, you who's listening to the show and me who's talking right now, we don't really protest that often. You really got to do a lot to get us to go protest because we got jobs. We got church. We got synagogues. We got things we're doing on weekends. We got boats. By the way, that was one of the funniest articles I've ever read. That whole article about why Trump people own boats. And the best response I saw on social media is because there's no giveaway program for boats. You have to earn the boats, and you know where the money came from. So, of course, you're going to vote for Donald Trump, not the other guys. I thought that one was pretty funny. Why do you see all these flotillas for Trump in the election cycles? So they're going to have this No Kings thing. It's about the shutdown. And let me tell you, it's a pivotal weekend. Here's what's going to happen. The Democrats are specifically keeping the government shut down for these protests this weekend. They had to send information out asking all their protesters to be peaceful. Because if it is a weekend of riots coast to coast, Democrats lose the shutdown battle. They absolutely lose it, assuming the media actually covers what happens. But if there's a whole bunch of social media of people getting assaulted like last time, Cam Higbee got assaulted the day of the No Kings insanity here in Seattle. The lunatics in Seattle were lighting dumpsters on fire in the middle of the streets. So nobody cared about how many thousands of people rallied in Cal Anderson Park. All they saw was the violence. Too bad most of the media didn't cover it, but luckily enough, we have social media and independent journalists. The progressive group Public Citizen insists its No Kings protest aims to defend democracy, not disrupt it. But Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy's claim that radicals may be infiltrating protests add complexity to that narrative. Speaking to Fox Baltimore, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said federal agencies are concerned that extremist actors may be quietly embedding themselves within the No Kings movement and questioned who is funding this. Duffy did not cite specific intelligence, but his remarks echoed a broader administrative warning about the potential unrest tied to the protest this Saturday. In fact, Mike Johnson even said how bad this could be.
Now, tomorrow, the Democrat leaders are going to join for a big party out on the National Mall. They're going to descend on our Capitol for their much-anticipated so-called No Kings rally. We refer to it by its more accurate description, the Hate America rally, okay? And I'm not sure how anybody can refute that. If you think about what's going to happen here tomorrow, you're going to bring together the Marxists, the socialists, the Antifa advocates, the anarchist and the pro-Hamas wing of the far-left Democrat Party. That is the modern Democratic Party.
Everything he said, I agree with one little tiny exception. I don't think he should have said the far left. He corrected himself at the end there and said the modern Democrat Party. It's not the far left. It is the party now. This is the party of Mamdani. Here's who these guys are. This is who the Democrat Party is. And the Antifa types are going to be out in force. Now, last time, what did they do? They got a couple of American flags because what's the big knock on them? You guys aren't pro-America. You're anti-America. You're all the radical groups. You're all the activist groups. Now, in an interview with Fox News Digital, Lisa Gilbert, who's the co-president of Public Citizen, the group behind all this insanity, rejected suggestions that the movement had turned violent, saying that the goal was to send a message of unity rather than confrontation. Hang on. You're called the No Kings thing against Donald Trump. How is it not confrontation? It literally seems like it's confrontation to me, and you've gathered every radical activist group to be part of your cause. So you want to have a protest, fine, but you're literally trying to be confrontational. What's really going on here? They are petrified that it's going to turn violent. If it turned violent, the question is, does the media cover it or not? We know the King 5 will say it was peaceful. Mike, I'm going to predict this right now. We're going to come in on Monday, and what it's going to be, King 5 is going to have headline after headline. Look at the thousands of people in Seattle. Look how peaceful it was. Even if something happens at the federal building or in Tukwila at the ICE facility or wherever it is, just watch. King 5 will say it was peaceful. The question is, what will the other media outlets do? Because they love ignoring this kind of stuff. Now, we know there are very, very violent people who are part of this movement because last time a whole bunch of people were arrested. But they're going forward with this thing anyway, so they had to tell everybody, no, be peaceful. Be peaceful. Be peaceful. If you have to tell your movement to be peaceful, you are not the peaceful movement. When Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, called them the party of Antifa and socialists and pro-Hamas, he's not wrong. More than you know. Today, had some news break earlier this morning. The FBI arrested a Palestinian national living in Louisiana who allegedly took part in Hamas's October 7th, 2023 attack on Israel. Mahmoud Amin Yaqub al-Muhattadi, a resident of Lafayette, Louisiana. Yeah, he's not a resident of Lafayette, Louisiana. He's a resident of Gaza. Is accused of violating terrorism laws by helping or attempting to help a foreign terrorist organization through his alleged involvement in the Hamas-led attack on Israel, according to an affidavit. He is also accused of fraud and misuse of visas, permits, and other documents because he lied to get into this country. And who did he get into this country under? Joe Biden. Remember when they said, download the Home One app so that way you can come into this country and we'll background check you and have your hearings and everything else? Nope. You guys let one of the Hamas terrorists from October 7th into this country. He's accused of being a member of Hamas and the Democratic Front for the Liberation of Palestine's armed wing, the National Resistance Brigades, and commanding or coordinating NRB fighters who joined Hamas units for the incursion, according to the affidavit. Evidence shows that the morning of October 7th, 2023, al-Muhattadi learned about the Hamas invasion, armed himself, gathered others, and crossed into Israel with the intention of assisting in Hamas's terror attacks. Cell tower data placed his phone inside Israel near Kibbutz Kfar Aza, one of the sites where Hamas and its supporters carried out the brutal massacre. He was also captured in multiple intercepted calls and recordings talking about moving fighters and arms into Israel, and was recorded celebrating the kidnappings that had occurred that morning. Evidence also showed him in photographs and videos taken around the time of the attack in combat gear, carrying weapons, standing with other terrorists, sometimes wearing the NRB insignia and Hamas-style headbands. Almost immediately after Hamas's attack began at 6:34 a.m., al-Muhattadi received a social media message from an individual that read, "I see war." 2 minutes later, the same individual added, "Hell opened its gates. It is very chaotic, and there will be no end this time. It will end in a good way." About an hour later, he received an update from the same individual who's talking about the trucks they're using, who they're picking up, where they're going. So this guy sounds like the fun, happy guy, doesn't he? This guy was led into the country under Joe Biden. Remember, we used to ask all the time with that flood of human beings that was coming across the border, who are they letting into the country? And we kept finding out that terrorists were coming across in addition to the drug dealers and everybody else. So is anybody surprised by this? Of course not. Which is why 52% of U.S. voters support Trump's National Guard deployments to protect ICE, and that's according to Rasmussen, not in my little black book of the right-wing media polling groups. This poll has found the majority of Americans back Trump's use of the National Guard to defend ICE facilities around the country. The poll also found the majority of voters feel that judges have been undertaking a legal insurrection. The poll found that 52% of likely voters supported using the National Guard to defend ICE facilities. It included 39% who strongly supported the move, and a total of 43% likely voters disapproved, including 33% who strongly disapproved. So right now, the momentum is on the Republican side for the shutdown. The Democrats are hoping that with all the protests, they can try and craft a narrative that the people of America are with them. And the media may try and help them do that. But I'm going to tell you, you know how you know the Democrats are losing this fight? I saw a report today from Fox News that Republicans in swing districts are still backing the Republicans in this case. What normally happens, what you normally see during a shutdown, is anybody who's going to be in a tight race is going to go the direction the polling is going. So they're the ones who are going to get weak knees if the polling starts to go in favor of the Democrats during the shutdown. Except right now, it's still in favor of the Republicans because the Republican message is resonating. No, we're not going to pay for health care for illegal aliens. Why do you want to pay for health care for illegal aliens? It's worse than that. I got this message while I was away, came back to it the other night while I was offline for the Jewish holiday. This one was sent to us. It's a letter of dozens and dozens and dozens of Washington Democrats that they sent out in June, urging Governor Bob Ferguson to grant clemency to Tuan Than Phang, an illegal alien from Vietnam who just finished serving 25 years for murder and assault and was in federal custody pending ICE deportation. Yet dozens of Democrats, including many members of the Washington state legislature, wrote a letter to Governor Bob Ferguson asking him to commute his sentence so he wouldn't be deported by ICE. So you have the majority of these Democrats saying, we don't want him deported by ICE, even though he's a murderer. That's who they're choosing. Now, one of these that may have some implications for elections around here is State Senator Deborah Krishnadasan. She's running against Michelle Caldier in the 26th Legislative District. You should be voting for Michelle Caldier, not the person who's advocating for the murderer to be given a commutation of their sentence so they can stay in the country. You know who else is on this list? Teresa Mosqueda, Emily Alvarado, Rebecca Saldana, Bob Hasagawa, Yasmin Trudeau, Noel Frame, all the people you don't want to be on a list with. I wonder how many of these people they just reached out to their office and said, we don't want this poor Vietnamese guy deported, and none of them bothered to look into the fact that he is a convicted murderer. Now, Portland, night after night of riots for 4 months now, for 4 months of the insanity outside the Portland ICE facility. Portland has now decided to vote to codify sanctuary status. Way to not read the room, guys. Portland City Council voted Wednesday to codify the city's sanctuary status and ordered local police to further distance themselves from U.S. immigration and customs enforcement. The council unanimously approved by a 12-0 vote both the Protect Portland initiative and a new sanctuary city ordinance after a lengthy public meeting where dozens of residents testified in its support. You know what? Portland's lost. Portland's lost at this point. There is no representation for anybody who might be even a little bit more moderate down there. The question is there anybody left, or have they all moved out during COVID? This is beyond crazy. What are Democrats mad about? They're mad that ICE is getting rid of people like convicted murderers here in Washington. They're mad that we're bombing narco-terror boats. Wait. We should just stop and have a trial right there. We should bring a judge. We should have a trial. We should do that anytime we go to war from now on, too. What is your argument for wanting the drug boats to come into the U.S.? What is your argument against blowing up the drug boats? President was asked about this earlier today.
That was in a submarine, right? We attacked a submarine, and that was a drug-carrying submarine built specifically for the transportation of massive amounts of drugs, just so you understand. This was not an innocent group of people. I don't know too many people that have submarines, and that was an attack on a drug-carrying, loaded-up submarine.
Why would the Democrats be mad about attacking a narco-terrorist submarine? If you're using a submarine to sneak into the country, you do not have good intentions. But the Democrats are defending the drug dealers who want to bring the drugs into our country, as opposed to our service members who took out the submarine, planning on coming into our country. In fact, President was talking about Maduro. And he was talking about how he's trying to work things out so that this doesn't happen anymore, and Maduro might actually be caving. The president got a little feisty with his language in this one. There should be a new drop for the show.
Maduro offered everything in his country, all the natural resources. He even recorded a message to you in English recently, offering mediation. What could we do in order to stop that?
He has offered everything. He's offered everything. You're right. You know why? Because he doesn't want to around with the United States. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
I love that. I love that. Don't blank around with the United States. I love that. Peace through strength. And the Democrats are on the other side of this. This weekend, what are they going to be rallying for? What are they going to be rallying against? They're rallying for illegal aliens. They're rallying, for illegal aliens to get health care. They're rallying for illegal alien criminals who they wanted to have their sentences commuted after they murdered somebody so they wouldn't get deported. That's what they're rallying for this weekend. And as the polls continue to show us, the majority of Americans are not in line with the Democrats. This is a Hail Mary. The media will help them out. If it's peaceful this weekend, they're going to say, look how many people are supporting this, even though the polls don't reflect the exact same thing. If they're violent this weekend, they're going to say, look, it was fiery, but mostly peaceful, like they did in 2020. Make no mistake about it. This is about trying to win the argument for the shutdown. And if Democrats start caving this week, you're going to know they didn't think the rallies were successful. That's what this is all about. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. When we come back, some breaking news, a surprise pardon by Bob Ferguson. Jeff Pogela from Northwest News Radio will be joining us. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, download the KVI app and subscribe to us on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. That way you never miss a minute of the show. Well, the senior political reporter for our sister station, Northwest News Radio, popped in to tell Mike he had some breaking news he wanted to tell me about a surprise pardon during the break. Jeff Pogela, what do you got for us?
All right, this coming from Washington, D.C. President Trump announced on social media that he has commuted the sentence of, wait for it, former U.S. Representative George Santos. Who has been serving more than 7 years in federal prison after pleading guilty to fraud and identity theft charges. The New York Republican was sentenced in April after admitting last year to deceiving donors and stealing the identities of 11 people, including some of his own family members.
Wait, did he steal some dogs, too, or some money for dogs or something like that?
Donations to his campaign. He reported to the Federal Correctional Institution in Ferreton in southern New Jersey on July 25th and is being housed in a minimum security prison camp with fewer than 50 inmates. Quote, I just signed a commutation releasing George Santos from prison immediately, Mr. Trump posted on social media.
What's
I
the
made
upside?
some mistakes, and I own up to them. And now I want to put this past me so I can deliver for the American people.
What is the upside to this? There's no upside to this at all. What is the upside?
Not being raised a practicing Jew, I've always joked with friends and circles, even with in the campaign, I'd say, guys, I'm Jewish. Remember, I was raised Catholic.
Whoa. We're going to fact check that right now.
I made some mistakes.
Yeah, you did. Jeff, I'm not sure if you know this story. George Santos was...
I know the George Santos story.
You know the George Santos story.
Yeah.
That we didn't know that this was the first time he said he was Jewish on our show. And then the first time I met him in person, and he couldn't play Jewish geography, which I've never tried to play with you, because clearly you can't play either, even though we love you. We can play Star Trek geography or anything else like that. We can't play Jewish geography.
I know where the planet Vulcan is.
There you go. Exactly. Well, it's not there no more.
In the campaign, I'd say, guys, I'm Jewish. Remember, I was raised Catholic.
Yeah, he didn't say the Catholic part. He just said he was raised Jewish, and a whole bunch of eyebrows went up at that event, and we knew something was
some mistakes.
Yeah, you did.
So, is he going to be in charge of White House communications now? Maybe?
Oh, I sure hope not. You know what I was thrilled about, by the way?
Two flashes mean no.
You know what I was thrilled about was that.
I love the Christopher Pike reference.
I knew you would, right? What I was thrilled about was that guy was in jail, so he couldn't be doing the podcast circuit anymore. He was everywhere. Literally everywhere before he went to jail. Left, right, center, didn't matter. You would think this guy was some kind of conquering hero. This is insane. What, just because he likes Trump, they're pardoning him?
Well, I mean, the AP's report goes on to say Santos's commutation is Mr. Trump's latest high-profile act of clemency for former Republican politicians since retaking the White House in January. In late May, he pardoned former U.S. Representative Michael Grimm, a New York Republican, who pleaded guilty to unreporting wages and revenue at a restaurant he ran in Manhattan. Also pardoned former Connecticut Governor John Rowland, whose promising political career was upended by a corruption scandal and 2 federal prison stints.
Okay, so then you know what we got to do? We got to start comparing the Biden list to the Trump list.
What about?
Did I say what about? I didn't even use the word what about. I'm just kind of curious if you're going to be mad.
Some mistake.
I wasn't trying. I'm reporting the news. I'm not saying I'm mad about anything.
All I'm doing is bringing up the fact that people get pardoned by presidents who you may not approve. Granny Ganja got pardoned by Jed Bartlett on his way out the door, as did Toby Ziegler when he revealed state secrets. Every president does this, right? So, anywho, I don't know what the upside here
But the
is.
key phrase there, to your point, is on his way out the door.
I get it.
So
I understand that. I don't get the upside here. I really don't.
So that is the point. And I came in here, I saw this headline, knew Ari's going to have a lot of fun with this one.
Not fun. This is not fun.
Guys, I'm Jewish.
Not fun. Definitely not fun.
Yeah, well, I mean, the motivations we'll have to see, but George Santos, obviously a colorful character who is going to, now that he's out of prison,
I'm Jewish.
bring more color to the American politic.
I made some mistake.
Yeah, you did. Jeff, what else is coming up on the Pogecast this week and on the Politicast?
We are going to take a look at the race for Seattle's mayor. Obviously, that is a big thing coming up in the next couple of weeks, as it seems there's no polling out there, so you kind of use, money raised as kind of a stand-in. Bruce Harrell has a significant edge there, even though he lost by 10 points in the primary. We'll have to see how that turns out. Plus, we'll break down what's going on with the federal government shutdown.
Let me ask you this, and maybe this will be some good fodder for the Politicast this weekend, and we're going to discuss this in the next segment, but I saw something fascinating. The Seattle Times came out and they endorsed Bruce Harrell. Mm-hmm. And then today, they released an article which is talking about the two fine candidates we have for mayor. Do you think they're hedging their bets?
I can't speak for the Seattle Times.
Oh, I know that, but I'm saying, when you see something like that, when I see something like that out there, it makes me think, are you worried about losing access because you endorsed one over the
other? One, the Seattle Times is, whether you like it or not, they are the preeminent sort of journalistic outlet in this market.
Are you saying it's not my show? Jeff, now I'm offended.
Yes, I am saying it is not your show.
You offend the host, but yes. Okay.
Well, I'm saying that I am not to that level either. So it would behoove both candidates to maintain a good relationship with the Seattle Times. I don't think the Seattle Times really has anything to lose here. The only people that pay attention to newspaper endorsements are people like you and I that live politics inside and out.
I don't agree with that. I'm going to tell you, the average voter who doesn't know who to vote for is going to look up the cheat sheets, or these outlets wouldn't bother doing it.
I would push back on that a little bit. I would provide an alternative theory, and that the average voter waits until the last minute, then looks at the endorsement pages in the voter's pamphlet. I would venture to guess the groups that provide the endorsement to candidates, whether it's Republican or Democrat, that are most aligned with the voter who's looking at them, whether it's a labor union, whether it's a pro-life group, whatever it happens to be, those endorsements will carry.
Yeah, radio talk.
Those endorsements are going to carry a lot more weight than the endorsement of a newspaper.
You know what I think? I think this would be a fun survey to do. It's not a poll, it's a survey. I think it'd be a fun survey to do of registered voters here in Seattle. Who do you go to before you vote? Do you do your own research? Do you go to a media outlet? If so, which one? Do you go to a radio talk show host? I would be very, very curious to see if you're right, if I'm right, if neither of us is right, or it's a combination.
Well, and I'm also knowing that I'm speaking kind of to the choir here, because the people that listen to your show, like you and I, are probably more involved in politics than your average person on the street.
You just said you listen to my show. I'm so flattered.
Of course I listen to your show. I hear the preview of it every day. I sit across
every
from
day. You help me refine my arguments every day.
Friends, when do ballots drop?
Ballots?
Like I've had my voter's guide for half a week.
I actually did a story on this earlier this week. And the ballots are being mailed out the tail end of this week. If you don't have it probably by the middle of next week, contact your county auditor's
Exactly.
office.
In fact, I also noticed that the Seattle channel is dropping all their videos of all the candidates. In fact, I thought it was pretty funny for the thing they asked me to do this year. It's me versus Bruce Harrell in the arguments, which very entertaining.
On what?
Oh, it's about the tax that's supposed to raise money for schools. It's not actually going to go to kids in schools. It's going to be that one.
City of Seattle?
City of Seattle.
See, I don't even live in King County. So
then you don't even have to worry about the tax, my friend. It will not be affecting you, sir, but it'll be affecting a lot of people in our audience.
Wait, does Jeff have to worry about that tax? I got somebody to consult on that.
No.
No. Oh, we love having you, Jeff. Jeff, where can people check out the Politicast?
Well, it airs many times throughout the weekend on our sister station, Northwest News Radio, 97.7 AM and 97.7 FM, AM 1000, and streaming anytime. Just go to wherever you get your podcast. Look for the Northwest Politicast.
Jeff Pogula from Northwest News Radio, their senior political correspondent, reporter extraordinaire. Thank you so much for joining us
Anytime.
today. Really do appreciate it. When we come back, my friends, is the Seattle Times desperate not to lose favor with Katie Wilson? And is this an indication of what direction the election is going to go? We'll have that for you and more. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KBI.
I made some mistakes.
After the Mariners' blowout loss last night, can we all acknowledge that the Humpy thing is over? That he is now like the bad luck fish? But was he turned into the bad luck salmon by Bruce Harrell? Because everything Bruce Harrell touches goes to you-know-what, a word I can't use on air. Yesterday, Bruce Harrell issued a city proclamation for Humpy the Salmon. And he couldn't get up there fast enough to stand next to Humpy and the Mariner Moose and a couple of the Mariners players to be like, look at me, vote for me, I'm Bruce Harrell and I'm on your team. And then they get blown out. I mean, really? Really? This is what you're doing here? Everything Bruce Harrell touches turns to absolute you-know-what. Are we done with the Humpy thing now? Are we going to bring him out again? Because it seems like anytime they make a big deal out of this guy, we're going to lose again and again. I'm actually mad at this point. I'm mad. It seems like the Humpy thing was manufactured. Look, at least the sneaker on the head thing, that's a little bit more fan-driven, as gross as it is. I just walked through Pioneer Square where all the homeless people are. I'm going to go put a sneaker on my head for a rally hat. But this whole Humpy thing, are we done with it? Mike's got a look on his face.
I hope so. And, you know, Bruce Harrell isn't the only one putting their stink on Humpy. Sarah Nelson tweeted yesterday, "Happy Humpy Day to all who celebrate. I'm loving how the city is rallying behind the Mariners in the ALCS. Let's seize the moment." And she's all posting with the Humpy fish and all that. And I want to read a tweet. This is not my tweet. I did not write this. So don't send your angry letters to mike@kvi.com or follow me on X at Mike on KVI, but somebody randomly posted with these. One of them is a picture of Bruce Harrell with the proclamation standing next to the Humpy. The other one is Sarah Nelson standing next to Humpy, and they say, "I have a feeling that Tanya Wu is Humpy."
Oh no!
And I'm like, that's
no! Yeah, that's something. This is
true story.
Exactly. This is bad, guys. I'll tell you that. I mean, you don't want to go back.
That's a tuna or something.
It's not. It's a salmon. Okay. Anywho, yes, just proof that our elected
Only
officials...
in America.
That our elected officials in Seattle, whatever they touch, turns to absolute garbage.
That's a tuna, bro.
It is not a tuna, bro. It is a salmon. He identifies as a salmon. He doesn't look like a salmon to me, by the way. I don't know what he looks like, but it's not a salmon. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell, I think the Seattle Times is hedging their bets. I think they think that it's very likely he's going to lose. They endorsed Bruce Harrell before the primary. They endorsed him on July 11th before the primary. And then this article comes out today. Headline: 2 solid candidates vie to be Seattle mayor amid economic uncertainty. Can you tell me why either of these candidates are solid? What, just because Bruce Harrell's been around a while? What accomplishments can you actually point to for him? And Katie Wilson, the socialist? What has she's put some of the worst people in office, advocated for some of the worst policies. What makes her a solid candidate? What, that she looks like the people in the American Gothic portrait? What makes her a solid candidate? I don't even think that was a joke. It's for real. So somebody please tell me why you think these are solid candidates. This is written by John Talton, who, by the way, is always wrong in every column he writes. This is written by him over at the Seattle Times. You know what this is? This is kiss-up time. You don't want to lose access in case Katie Wilson wins. So you get to say, yeah, we endorsed Bruce Harrell because, you know, we got conservative voters. But look what we did for you right at the end. We put the two of you side by side and said 2 solid candidates. What was the point of the endorsement? This is why newspapers shouldn't endorse people. If you want access, don't endorse anybody. Just cover their actual policies. I'm an opinion guy. I can endorse people. You guys aren't opinion. I know you say it's your op-ed, your editorial staff that does this. But it's clear they're worried about losing access, which is why they do something like this. And to me, it's just chicken.
I got it figured out, Ari. They're 2 solid candidates, right? And we're trying to figure out solid what? Solid poo.
Oh.
I'll show myself out. Follow me on X at Mike on KVI. My email address is Mike.
Let's
at
put it another way.
KVI.com.
Solid waste, I'd say, Mike. There you go.
Oh,
Solid
sure.
waste.
I like that a little better.
We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from John in Redmond. John, what's up?
Ari, dear man, I am Finn-ish and Swede-ish. And if you'll pardon the expression, Norwegish and all American.
Yes.
But what in the world is this pardon? How is it judicious?
Yeah. Oh, I like that, John. This makes no sense. This makes no sense. This is the kind of stuff Democrats love because then they can say, oh, well, he pardoned George Santos just because George Santos said he liked Donald Trump. This makes no sense. There's no upside for Donald Trump here except to have George Santos on every podcast talking about how much he loves Donald Trump. And I wonder if the calculation here is this is the only upside I can see, John. As somebody who has personally had George Santos lie to me time over time and time again, the only upside I can see for Donald Trump here is that even the left-wing media and podcasts were loving George Santos. And maybe by having George Santos go on all those shows, he starts talking about how much he loves Donald Trump. That's the only upside I can see for Trump. I see no upside here at all. That's it.
Boy, that's a stretch.
I know. It's a huge stretch. I see no upside to this. Look, we like to take a very balanced approach to President Trump, where we talk about the things we like and the things we don't like. I don't see any upside to this at all. Appreciate the call.
No.
Appreciate you being part of the show,
you,
Joe.
Ari.
Appreciate the humor as well. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. This one here from the 206. Why don't people in Washington State go to the No Kings rallies with signs saying, Harris was crowned, not elected. Ferguson is not our king. I like that. I do like that one. Very, very good. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. When we come back, the GOP is still winning the shutdown, but federal employees are starting to lose. We'll give you all the details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. So the Senate Democrats once again tanked a bill that would have paid U.S. service members. Senate Republicans had a plan to reignite the government funding process. It was torpedoed by Senate Democrats, according to Fox News, who blocked a bill that would pay the troops as the federal government entered day 16 of the shutdown. The annual defense appropriations bill was blocked largely along party lines on Friday, with only a handful of Senate Democrats joining Republicans to advance the measure. While President Donald Trump has made a temporary move to ensure that military service members are paid, the funding won't last forever. The only Senate Democrats to cross the aisle were John Fetterman, Catherine Cortez Masto, Jeanne Shaheen, and that's it. Now lawmakers are going home. Why? Because they all want to be at the front of the line of the No Kings protest. That's why. Now, mind you, as I was mentioning earlier, House Republicans aren't budging on this. And normally you would see by now some movement. Where the Republicans would be getting weak-kneed, they're holding the line. In battleground districts, which is even more fascinating. 8 House GOP lawmakers whose seats are being targeted by Democrats in 2026 spoke with Fox News Digital this week, and while some shared individual concerns, they were largely united in agreeing with Speaker Mike Johnson that Republicans should not renegotiate their federal funding proposal, and were confident that Americans are behind them. Now, just to explain to you how polling works, there are big national polls for big races. But the most part, you got to do local polling yourself. That's something these Congress people have to do on their own. That means the polling they are seeing about their own individual races shows them that their districts are behind Republicans on this, or you would already see them going other directions. And right now, they're not budging. This backs up the polling we've seen so far that the vast majority of Americans don't think we should be spending our money on illegal aliens and are backing Republicans. As I said, this thing will be over based on the polls. Now, I think the Democrats are going to start caving after this weekend, depending on what the PR is going to be about the No Kings protests and how good the memes are. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Ian in Tacoma. Ian, what's up, man?
Example of the left can't meme. Do you remember the Donald Trump Biden did that stickers on all the gas pumps?
Yeah, it was great. Now they should be Ferguson ones, shouldn't they?
Oh, no. They've got one with Kamala Harris on it now, pointing at the price saying Trump did that. I saw that at a gas station in Fife today.
Wait, you're kidding me. Here in Washington? Donald Trump had nothing to do with our gas prices. Wait a second. Ian, the fact that you bring that up today cracks me up. I saw report after report after report of gas prices going down in 35 other states and how they're the lowest they've been in years. And the reason I didn't run that story today is because I knew everybody here in Washington would get mad about it. You're telling me they're now trying to put Kamala Harris there and blame Trump for it?
I've got a photo. I will email it to you, Ari.
Oh, please do. Please, please, please do. As I said all the time, I don't think anybody should be vandalizing gas pumps, but you know what I think we should be doing? You guys should be making the stickers on social media. Take a picture of your gas prices, put Bob Ferguson, Jay Inslee, and the Democrats, post it that way, say, we did that, and put it up there and say, thank a Democrat for the high gas prices. Ian, please send that over to me, ari@kvi.com, okay?
Absolutely, Ari.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much. Appreciate you being part of the show. You have a great weekend. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a quick call from Pete in Florida. Pete, what's going on, man?
Hey, Ari. I commercial fished in the Sound in the 60s, and there's a hierarchy to salmon. It's king, silver, sockeye, and humpy were the bottom of the barrel. That's kind of like what you got going on your elections there.
I would agree. We've got the bottom of the barrel in our elections, and the mascot, we have the moose. He's fine, but this humpy thing, it's got to end, and maybe there's a reason he loses all those races in the stadium. Pete, brilliant. Thank you for giving me some humor today. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you listening all the way out in Florida. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, a Seattle mother allegedly killed her child at a Homeless Inc. location. We'll give you the tragic details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Seattle is leading the Toronto Blue Jays 1-0 at the bottom of the third. But we're also going to talk about how the Portland City Council is more concerned about the Middle East than an ICE facility. But before we get to any of that, the people who went to the Mariners game today took the light rail, a lot of them. And a lot of them probably didn't pay for it, which is why now Sound Transit is considering a pilot program to finally put turnstiles on the trains. I kid you not. This is from King 5. Sound Transit is studying whether to add fare gates to some Link light rail stations. Some? Just some. Let me try. You know what they're going to do? They're going to add them to the stations in the rich neighborhoods, probably, and then leave them free in the poor neighborhoods. Is that what we're going to be talking about here? They say this is an effort to improve safety, boost fare compliance, and close a projected $20 to $30 billion shortfall over the coming decades. Wait. You're telling me that when it's free and anybody can ride on the thing, you get a whole bunch of homeless meth addicts on there, which is why 100% of the samples had meth or fentanyl in them? Is that what it is? Oh, okay. Wait, are you telling me that your fare enforcers that give you a warning, then another warning, then another warning, then another warning, then you can get diverted to fare treatment where they tell you, here's why you should pay the fare, and then you don't have to pay the fine? You're telling me that's not working for getting people to pay for it, and that might be contributing to your $20 to $30 billion shortfall over the coming decades? Sound Transit CEO Dow Constantine.
Now, that's a name I've not heard in a long time. A long time.
Directed staff to prepare a pilot program for fare gates at various key stations. An announcement with details on where and when the pilot program will happen is expected later this year. The agency currently relies on fare ambassadors who check riders' proof of payment on trains and platforms. Repeat fare evaders can face fines ranging from $50 to $124, according to King 5. They can face them. They are not facing them. Mike, do you ride the light rail often, except when you have to be Snowpiercer? Is there any other really time you go on the light rail?
When I go to sports games.
When you go to sports games. Have you ever seen a fare enforcement person on those things?
Once or twice.
Once or twice. Okay.
I mean, I could count them on one hand and still have a couple fingers left.
Right. Okay, I'm about the same way with you. The last time I was riding the light rail, they were standing on the platform and not even on the train. They were just standing around. What are you guys even doing here? What's the point? What's the purpose? Agency officials say fare gates, similar to San Francisco and New York, could help reduce fare evasion, you think, improve rider safety, and create a cleaner experience on trains. Whoa. Are you admitting that the homeless people cause a mess, that they're dirty? Is that what you're admitting? But installing gates could be expensive and complicated, especially ground-level stations like SoDo, which were not built to include barriers. Hey, dum-dums, you want me to do this for you? Mike, tell me if you think this will work. Here's what I think you should do, okay? You put metal railings along the edges of the platforms except for the area where the doors open. So that way you can't get around them. Where the doors open, that's where your fare gates are going to be. You have to beep it. You're right there. It comes out about 3 feet, so you've got some setback room for people to come off and come on. I think that's the easiest. I think that's the only way. Not just the easiest, but the only way you can do it.
Well, and what particularly frustrates me about all of this is in recent times, I have seen 2 more light rail stations being built in Kent Midway and down in Federal Way. And there's been no talk of putting turnstiles or gates or any kind of obstacle of any kind. And I don't understand. It's like, do we just not like money? Do we not want enforcement? But yet, oh no, now we got to look at raising property taxes because Sound Transit is way over budget. I don't know what we're going to do to make up this shortfall. How about collect some damn fares?
Exactly. Here's something else for you, Mike. Here we go. What am I saying all the time about Sound Transit? You have all this property and you do a lousy job advertising. Anytime I'm on Sound Transit, which is rare, what is it ads for? Sound Transit. or like King County Health or something like that, or some Seattle program. It is never real companies. You know what happens when you build these barricades at the edge of the platform? Mike, you get surface area where you could put advertising on it. So you wouldn't just get the fair enforcement, you could put actual advertising on there and get even more money. You know what? You guys want to solve your budgeting problem? Advertising on all those overpasses wherever you're building them. Giant billboards. And people will happily fork over the money to sell their products. But you guys would rather go after the drivers. You guys would rather go after our property taxes. One of the first jobs I really, really wanted, I didn't get it. I was a kid fresh out of college. I really wanted this job. And the reason I didn't get it was because they didn't really need any help. I was so bummed out. Grand Central Station. I love Grand Central Station in New York. Well, my mom had a connection with the lady who does all the advertising for Grand Central Station and has some people who work for her who do the advertising for Metro North and for the MTA and for all the different train companies. And they're like, well, we don't really need to chase anybody down because people just kind of come to us. They didn't even need the help so much, but I thought that would have been so cool. I love trains. And I love being in Grand Central Station back before the homeless people moved back in. And I thought that would have been the coolest job ever. Sound Transit doesn't believe in advertising. Doesn't. Those trains should be wrapped with the advertising for the latest Superman movie. You should have seen Superman flying on a Sound Transit light rail going past you. You never see things like that. You never, ever do. Look at the buses. What's the advertising on the buses? It's always for something like the library. That's how you could have done this. So now you want to do it to make up the money. But you know what they're going to do at the same time? Raise our property taxes. Other stupidity around here. You ready for this one? This one's from Como News. The city of Seattle is trying a new strategy to deter people from soliciting prostitutes on Aurora Avenue North. Mike, I want to see if you come to the same conclusion I did, because you didn't see the story yet, right? I just mentioned it in passing. You don't know the full details. Okay. Detectives are now sending warning letters to the registered owners of vehicles they observe driving the sex workers. Okay. So hang on a second here. At first, I thought to myself, this is kind of clever. You get a letter at your house. Maybe your wife opens it and screams at you that you were going visiting. Maybe that's what they're thinking. Or you think to yourself, well, I don't want to get one of those letters at my house. Now they've got a record of me going there. But you know the inherent flaw with this? The big problem? Or rather, the easy fix? If the officers are observing this, why not arrest them right there? It's a crime. Why not arrest them right there? Then you might stop prostitution. Or is this something that's being done with video cameras? If it's being done with video cameras because you're short-staffed, then you know what, guys? You have legal problems. If I can get out of those speeding tickets, those light camera tickets, by just checking I wasn't driving the vehicle. Right here, you don't get a fine, you don't get a citation, you don't get anything like that. You just get a warning, like driving in the HOV lane when you get those warnings. Not that I've ever gotten them 100 times before, right? This thing here, you could break up marriages. I mean, you may see some guy driving by. Maybe he's asking for directions. That's going to be the new excuse. I was just asking for directions. But if they're observing the guys in the act, I assume that means somebody gets into the vehicle. Mm-hmm. I assume that means they go somewhere.
Yeah.
Why aren't you arresting them? It should be that simple. If you want to stop the prostitution, then stop the prostitution. I mean, it's funny and all, but I don't really think this makes a lot of sense. I don't think this is going to work out so well.
Yeah, I tell you what, I think I've had my last late night Jack in the Box after a movie in Northgate. Goodness. I don't want to get any weird get letters in the mail about we caught you in the sweet cream district again. I know you like the Jack in the Box. I know you like Jack's Munchie Meal. Don't get the spicy cluck.
Yeah,
That's going to be a spicier cluck than you've anticipated.
Oh, crazy stuff. Absolutely crazy stuff. Yeah, I just kind of wonder, is this going to deter businesses up there as well? Is that something that's going to happen while you're up there? Because now I'm considering that also. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Paul in Bonnie Lake. Paul, what's going on?
A whole lot of things, Harry. Just for the record, we have been Husky season ticket holders since 1978. And for many years, we went to the Federal Way Park and Ride. It was great. We're on the metro buses, and we'd have interaction when people wore Oregon shirts and so forth. But in 2018, they forced us to go ride the light rail out of Angle Lake. We were verbally assaulted. We were physically assaulted. I grew up on the south side of Chicago riding commuter trains with my grandmother, and I remember it well. There was a wholesale revolt. We now take charter buses out of Redondo Heights.
Yeah.
Light rail is the biggest joke I have ever seen.
And you know what? It could have been good. It could have been good, but it wasn't safe. And it's not paying for itself, and you're taxing everybody else to pay for a thing that not that many people use, except for maybe on game days. Paul, appreciate the call. Appreciate the perspective. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. 5757. This one here from Eben and Bonnie Lake. Ari, I seriously doubt the Democrats would be worried about stopping prostitution. It's more about breaking up families if they can. Yeah. Rob says the Aurora warning letters, they did this in the late 80s. Wait, this has been tried before? Now they're doing it again? Okay, now I got to do some research this weekend and find out if they're doing another failed program just to try it out again.
Another one.
Exactly.
Another one.
Steve Carnell says over on the Warrior Injury Law text line, Ari, no legitimate businesses want to advertise with Sound Transit. No. You put the ads higher up so you don't have a homeless guy sleeping or peeing on your ad. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Pat and Squim. Pat, what's up?
Well, I have some information for you. I was a bus driver for Pierce Transit for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first started, I was adamant when people got on, pay your fare. But I was jerked in the back office and told, you're a bus driver, not a fare collector. Stop it.
Wow.
So from time to time, there would be a woman, one of the secretaries from upstairs, riding all day long on my bus. And I finally asked her, what are you doing? And she said, well, we count the empty seats. At the end of the month, we add them all up, submit it to the government, and they pay us for those empty seats. So it does, they don't care if they get the money because they're going to get it from the government.
Wait a minute. You're saying is that the government is subsidizing the empty seats on transit?
Yes.
That's insane. Are they doing this in other places or just Pierce County special?
Oh, I'm sure it's everywhere. I have no doubt.
That's bonkers. I'm going to send out some requests for comment to find out about this. Do you know what the program was called by any chance?
I have no idea.
Okay. I'll do some digging. That's my job. I'll figure out. I'll get to the bottom of this. When did this happen? What year, roughly?
I started in 81 until 99.
81 to 99. So if sometime during that time, it is the program still ongoing. Fascinating,
I'm sure it is. Why would they give it up?
Right. Why
Easy
would they?
Money?
Unless they moved it to the homeless. Or something like
I'm
that.
so sick of the homeless.
Right. I mean, basically now we know the buses and the trains are just rolling homeless encampments. But yeah, Pat, great perspective, great tip. I'm going to check that out over the weekend.
When I was young, we didn't call them homeless. We just called them bums.
Yeah, exactly. Vagrants, bums, that's what we call them. Exactly. Now they've changed our whole lingo. I'm totally with you on that, Pat. Appreciate the call. Appreciate the sharing. Appreciate the tip. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Ah, our frenemy Bennett is back. Bennett, are you still in Portland or are you back here in Seattle?
Well, I had enough of dodging pepper balls and pepper spray and getting the stuff stolen by the ICE agents. So,
okay, well, Bennett, I still want to know. Hang on a second. I still want to know.
I sent you.
Wait a second. Hang on. A question for you first. I still want to know what you do for a living. That you can take a few days off and just go to Portland.
I just always answer the same way now. It's complicated.
Complicated. We'll go with that. Okay.
Not divulging anything else.
All right. Fair. What'd you come here for today? What'd you come for today? What'd I get wrong today?
Nothing yet. Well, I only just tuned in, so everybody listening, if you got something obviously wrong the first hour, I'm not giving him a pass. I ironically just took the light rail back from the game. So
okay.
I wanted to tell you, when I first heard about the Aurora rule that they were going to start taking photographs of people's license plates, all of that there's like a really popular Krispy Kreme writer on there, and I immediately thought of the old Mitch Hedberg bit where he goes, I give you money, you give me a donut, you gave me a receipt. I cannot imagine a scenario where I would have to prove that I bought a donut. And now we actually have one, because if I'm getting a receipt, if I'm getting a donut from that Krispy Kreme, you are absolutely giving me a receipt.
Yes, because now what's going to happen, I think this is actually going to depress the businesses on Aurora Avenue, because everybody, if they find out about this, are going to be so worried. Wait a minute, I don't want to go to Aurora Avenue anymore. What if they get my license plate? What if I get a letter in the mail? I think you're going to have problems with the businesses up there. Bennett, great call. Appreciate you being part of the show. Appreciate having you back in Seattle. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. This one here from Mike Kerb. He says, over on the Warrior Injury Law studio line, he says, fare evasion. In Sweden, you can go to jail for up to 2 years for fare evasion. Yeah, well, in Singapore, they can cane you for graffitiing something. We don't do any of this. We're soft around here. Super, super soft. Unbelievable. Meanwhile, speaking of other things that are happening on the streets, oh, Mike's going to like this one. From Como News, a woman who had just stolen meat and kitchen items from a grocery store led a deputy on an early morning chase Friday, shortly before 1 a.m. A deputy saw a reckless driver heading west on 86th Avenue East and 224th Street East in the Elk Plain area. When the deputy tried to pull the car over, the driver sped off, turned north on 82nd Avenue East. The road sharply curves to the left, and the fleeing car crashed into a guardrail. The impact spun the car around to face the deputy, who he then used his cruiser to try a pit maneuver. However, the car backed up, fled past the deputy, hitting his cruiser as it took off. The deputy chased the car a second time. The tires deflated when stop sticks were placed at 38th Avenue East and 224th Street East. Video showed that once the car was stopped, the deputy got out of his vehicle, ran toward the car, shouted for the suspects to come out with their hands up. The woman who was behind the wheel was taken into custody on suspicion of reckless driving, driving with a suspended license, eluding police, theft, and Department of Corrections felony warrants. A man who was a passenger in the car was booked and then released with a misdemeanor warrant. After the woman was arrested, investigators learned she had just stolen several $100s worth of meat and kitchen utensils from a Safeway in Graham before the deputy tried to pull her over. I wonder if she was planning on starting one of those street vendor deals down at the Mariners game. That's what it sounds like to me. Lots more to discuss, my friends, as the show continues. More of your calls, more of your texts, plus the rioting continues down in Portland. We'll have the latest stories for you because apparently the city council doesn't care what's going on at the ICE facility. They want to try and solve the Middle East after pieces in the Middle East. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Oh, it seems like people listening to this show have a lot to say about what's going on Aurora Avenue and those letters that might be coming in the mail. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Greg in Silverdale. Greg, what's going on?
Hey, Ari, pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah, what's going on, man?
Oh, I was calling just as a follow-on comment to the Aurora Avenue warning letters that you were talking about a minute ago. And I know that Seattle and other jurisdictions may have done it too. They used to print people's names in the newspaper who were soliciting prostitutes.
So what you're saying is this has been tried before? You're the second person. Somebody else told us that they did this letter business years ago in the 80s. So you're saying they used to print it in the newspaper?
Yeah, they would print your name in the newspaper, as well as people who were convicted of DUIs as well. They would print your name in the newspaper.
Wow. Yeah. That is great. Greg, if you could find like a news story about that, do me a favor, email it to me, ari@kvi.com, okay?
Okay, I'll take a look and see if I can find one.
See if you can find that. That sounds very entertaining to me. Those who don't learn history are doomed to repeat it, right?
Right.
Appreciate the call, Greg. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, and you want to weigh in on what's going on Aurora Avenue. Some of you, if you call and have too many specifics, I'm going to have questions for you. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from Russ in Texas. Russ, what's going on?
Hey there, guy. Yeah, I was just telling your screener there and all. You were talking with that lady, and she talked about how they put people on there to count empty seats, and I found that kind of interesting. Not quite sure how they did it, but in 2005, I went to work for a uniform security company called Securitas, and they had the contract with Sounder, and I used to ride the train between Seattle. And back then, the end of it was at the Great House in Tacoma.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would ride it from Tacoma back to Seattle. And every time the train departed, there was a bunch of information I'd sent in dispatch, but every time the train left a station, I would have to walk the length of the train, and I had a little clicker in my hand, and I would count all the bodies that were physically present on the train.
Whether they paid or not, or just see if they lined up with the fares?
No, just for a body count.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they knew how many people had paid for tickets because the machines they got those from, the kiosks they got them from, records how many tickets were sold. So, I mean, they know that. If I count 150 people, but they sold 110 tickets, they'd be able to figure that out.
See, this is what I don't get. In New York, where I grew up, when you're riding Metro North, which is going out of Long Island or going from Westchester into the city or going from Connecticut into the city, when you get on, there is a guy who walks the train the whole way, going tickets. He checks every single ticket. And if you don't have one, you have to buy it from him on the spot or he throws you off the train. It's that simple.
There was one guy, and that was the conductor.
Mm-hmm.
He was the one guy that would walk the train and check tickets when he felt like it.
Gotcha. So you're basically checking up his work to make sure that he's getting everybody.
Well, I don't know about that, but it's not that far between the stops. Going between the different stops there, it's really easy. If you're checking tickets, it's really easy to get from one stop to another stop without having been able to cover the whole train.
Right. This should have been done with turnstiles on Sound Transit because there's not that much distance between the stops. There's no way you can walk the train that entire amount of time, and there's no way you can get all the fares that entire amount of time. Russ, appreciate the perspective on this. Really, really do.
And kind of interesting there that they know because that was something that was being done. What's the actual head count between Tukwila and Kent?
Right.
And they know because I counted the heads.
Right. That way you know how many people are actually riding on the train and if people are riding the train. Mm-hmm. Russ, appreciate the call.
They also know how many people had bought tickets because the kiosk is going to have that recorded, I'm certain.
Exactly. Now they don't seem to care. They just want to tax us drivers for it. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you listening all the way from Texas. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Meanwhile, on to things that are happening a lot closer to home. The Portland, Oregon has six city council members who have announced they're launching a municipal approach to challenging U.S. complicity in Israel's ongoing occupation of Palestine and are pushing for a probe of the manufacturing and transport of weapons to Israel within Portland's city limits. okay, do they make anything in Portland aside from drugs and food trucks and the big bookstore? Do they make anything there? Are there any big weapons contractors down in Portland I am unaware of? Maybe they should focus on the riots and unrest they have in their own city before trying to get involved in U.S. foreign policy, a place where they have no jurisdiction at all. On top of that, they're not successful dealing with their own city. Now you want to solve peace in the Middle East? Guys, you're a little late to the party. Just a smidgen. Well, they're on the side of Antifa, who are domestic terrorists, so of course they're going to be on the side of Hamas, who are the actual terrorists. Unbelievable. When we come back, a mom is alleging that her child is being held by state, county, city officials and school officials, and that she put out a missing child report, and that her child's not being returned to her. Is this a victim of Senate Bill 5599? We'll find out more when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.